Anime Declassified is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hey guys, Joshua Seth here, voice of Ty on Digimon, and you're listening to Anime Declassified.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Anime Secrets Anime Declassified podcast, where today we will be talking about one of the best animated movies that released this year, which, I'll be honest, kind of took me by surprise, but we'll get into that later. We are talking about Transformers 1. Joining me on this podcast today are Frankie and Rizwan.
Hi.
Hey guys.
And before we kind of dive into what we thought about the movie, in the lead up to it, or before you even went into it, what were you guys expecting from this?
The trailers did not sell me on this movie whatsoever. The whole reason I even went to the theater is my friend convinced me to go with him, because I had no faith in this whatsoever.
So, for me, I actually didn't know this movie was coming out. I hadn't seen a single trailer. It wasn't until a new friend of mine that I met through a convention mentioned to me, hey, I'm going to go see Transformers 1. I'm really excited because it's the prequel that shows everything before Autobots, Decepticons, when Optimus and Megatron were friends. And so, a little bit of background on me. The extent of my Transformers knowledge is I saw the 80s cartoon. I watched a couple of Michael Bay movies, not even all of them, like maybe the first two, maybe first three. Whenever Shia LaBeouf stopped doing them, that's when I stopped watching them. And then, I had like one or two toys growing up, but I was never really big on Transformers. So this is never my radar. But when my friend mentioned prequel, Optimus and Megatron being friends, I had some interest. And then I saw respected friends of mine who I know are diehard Transformers fans, like the guy below me, right here in this podcast. So when I saw all these people coming out of the woodwork praising the movie, I knew I had to go see it.
Yeah, for myself, it was one of those where I didn't think the trailers looked that terrible, but I didn't think it necessarily looked like good. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll skip this. Maybe I'll wait for this for Netflix. But when the word of mouth started coming around, like people actively going, this, a lot of people always say, oh, this is the best movie since X. With every Star Wars movie, it's like everyone's saying, oh, this is the best movie since Empire. Or every Batman movie, this is the best Batman movie since Dark Knight. People were saying this with Transformers again, but when people were explicitly saying that trailer completely misjudges on what you're getting with this movie, that's when I started paying attention, and that's where I kind of got the, you know what, maybe I should see this in theaters. And I am really glad I did, because, oh man, those trailers did not prepare you for the kind of movie you were about to get.
Those trailers completely give you a different taste on what this movie actually is. And
so, question from the guy who has still not seen a trailer, because he just once saw the full movie blind as a bat.
Mm-hmm.
What were your actual impressions beyond, oh, this trailer didn't sell it? Like, what vibe did you get?
It looked like a kid's movie, like a young kid's stupid fart joke kind of movie.
It looked like one of those, how sometimes you're browsing through Netflix and you're like, wait, where did this Shrek spin-off film come from? Or where did this... It looked like one of those original Netflix or straight-to-streaming movies in terms of like kind of the jokes and the feeling they're kind of putting out with. I'm mostly talking about the first trailer because I didn't see anything beyond that one. where they really were leaning into the comedy of it.
But I
Which,
mean,
to be
what,
clear, there is comedy in the movie, but that
There
is
is,
not what this movie is.
no, but okay. So the comedy in the movie was a little bit self-contained to certain pieces and definitely certain characters.
The thing is,
Bumblebee.
not
Right.
even Michael
Bumblebee.
Bay. The way the trailer, that first one anyway, the way that one was kind of played out, it literally felt like what the first 20 minutes of the movie were before they start rolling, before they leave kind of the city they live in. That trailer basically made it feel like that's the kind of comedy and movie you were going to get. Like, because we can all agree, like, after the first half hour, the movie just takes on a completely different tone.
Yeah, it
It did.
completely shifts.
Yeah, most definitely.
And it was one of those where, there's not I'm not knocking the first 30 minutes either. Like, let's kind of roll back. This isn't bashing the movie or the beginning of the movie itself, though. Once it kind of does get rolling, like, I think people will be more engaged. Because I love Key, absolutely love him. His Bumblebee didn't always connect, and there's definitely a couple jokes that they were trying to force on way too much at the beginning and even later on into the movie.
One in particular.
Yeah, uh and that, I would say, would be like kind of the biggest low for me, was like how they were kind of handling his character.
The character I guess not surprisingly really got attached to was Orion Pax.
Yeah.
See, I never would have guessed that.
I mean, he's the main character, but
I mean, how many videos do we have on Fandom Toy Box right now with just Optimus Prime toy reviews?
listen, he's not Optimus Prime until the end of the movie. Get it together.
Look, he's still an incarnation of the big guy.
But even like you take that out, his storyline is just compelling.
It is.
Both of
I mean-
the main characters'
Oh yeah,
storyline is compelling.
D16, yeah.
Mhm.
Which, as
I mean-
far as I know, that's a new interpretation of Megatron.
Mm-hmm. I know some friends of mine have told me that they've done kind of they knew each other, they were comrades in arms at one point story with Megatron and Optimus, but kind of the way they go with how D16 becomes Megatron, I do believe that is like new and kind of exclusive to this movie.
I think so. Because I've never seen him and Orion Pax being like besties ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually liked that they were besties. It makes the entire movie more compelling because in the beginning of the movie, you see this, what I consider a beautiful friendship. Not to get
Mhm.
too sappy or anything, but that's just what it was.
And the thing for me too, which I think sold me on it, was I knew going in, okay, that's Megatron. I was really hoping he wouldn't turn into Megatron. Even though I know he was going to.
But that's the thing, is we as the audience, knowing, even me, who quite honestly don't really care about the franchise as much as most people do. I knew that D16 and Orion Pax were going to become Optimus and Megatron down the line. And so I knew that there was going to be some kind of betrayal, some kind of drama at some point in the movie, or maybe in the next movie. So I knew there's going to be some big character development, something major happening. And that's what makes this movie even more strong, because you're given that first half an hour to see that bond kind of develop. It's not like the exposition we get sometimes in other movies and franchises where you're told, hey, these guys were friends many years ago. No, you get to see it. And I think that's really amazing that we get to see that little see that friendship, because that's not something a lot of people really think about or even know was a thing.
And to me, both their paths, Orion leading to Optimus and D leading to Megatron, they're not forced. They are built up almost perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
They really are, and I think I think you are drawn more to Optimus. I felt more drawn to D16.
Oh, well, see, Optimus Prime's like in my top 3 favorite fictional characters of all time.
Is
So,
number one Goku?
uh, Goku, Spider-Man, Optimus are my top 3. Yeah,
Respectable.
and
So
then
Miguel,
Sonic,
which way did
after
you
that.
Miguel, which way did you lean?
I mean, I saw both of the points, kind of how they're going, and we're definitely jumping ahead here. Because,
Yeah,
like,
let's talk about
towards,
some plot.
well, yeah, because I was going to say, because, like, at the beginning, we kind of see kind of their humbleness. And before we kind of go on any further, just going to emphasize this point right here. This is going to be a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the movie, I would recommend not watching this until you've seen it, whether you go to a theater or you find a way to stream it or wait for it to come out on whatever streaming service it's at. I would recommend watching that first, so that you don't get spoiled. But if you don't care about spoilers, we are going to dive into them. So, fair warning here. This
Yeah.
is going to be spoiler warning. So yeah, no, I saw where both of them are kind of coming from, and at the beginning, that's how you see they both want to make not just a better life for themselves, but we kind of see the path what that they want to take. D16 kind of follows order, right? He's not a rule breaker. He's like, we work our way through the normal means. We'll make our way up top. Orion is like, we can accelerate that. We can find other ways so that we're just not miserable toiling away in the energon mines in order to kind of move up ahead. So establishing those two plot elements like almost right away within the film, I thought was a smart choice. That way, whenever the path that they keep taking, you can kind of see the wheels in motion as more and more events start unfolding.
Yeah, I can completely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, like, for a lot of people, knowing that this is the dude that's going to become Optimus, this is the dude that's going to become Megatron, but seeing kind of how their origins and how, as they learn more and more about the world that they were put into, the struggles that they were essentially put to go through against kind of their own will, and that development right there. Because again, like I said, the first 30 minutes, yes, there is a lot of the typical, like, almost Disney MCU joke kind of stuff that it's a little wear thin, but the biggest thing that I was able to execute was establishing the friendship between these two. Because, any movie can be like, oh, these guys were friends, but not really show too much about it, not show how they have each other's back, not show how one cares for the other. But this one, by doing that in that first half hour, really, really started building up for kind of when the next few acts begin happening. And the biggest thing is, in order to really believe into the characters, you needed to have good actors voicing them.
Yeah, this is
And
something I wanted to mention. Thank you for bringing it up. There were
mhm,
people complaining that Peter Cullen is not Optimus Prime in this movie. My counterpoint is that one, it's for the most of the movie, he's not Optimus Prime. I think for like 90% of the movie, he's not Optimus Prime. And two, why would he sound like that already?
Are you saying I know your point very well, but for the audience, I'm going to kind of state it again in a way that they might understand. But I think what you're saying is Orion Pax is too young to have that deep, meaningful Peter Cullen voice.
Orion Pax is, for all intents and purposes, still kind of the Cybertronian equivalent of like a young adult at most.
mhm.
So why would
I
he have
interpret it as a teenager, to be honest with
so
you.
why would he have that deep, gravelly war veteran voice already? He wouldn't.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
And same with people who say Frank Welker should have been D16. No, no, those voices would not fit these young versions of these characters. Just no, get that out of your minds right now. But the voice actors they did get, I think, except for maybe, I'm not super big on Bumblebee's voice, but we'll get to him in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone else. I think Chris Hemsworth really fit Orion. Brian Tyler Henry, is that his name?
Brian Tyree Henry.
Yeah, he's D16. I think he did a good job. Scarlett Johansson really did a great job as Lita 1. John Hamm as Sentinel Prime. We'll get to them in a minute.
We'll get to him in a minute because when they were rolling the credits for the movie and I saw John Hamm's name come up, I'm like, who the heck did John Hamm voice? And this is before like the black and white credits where like you see the name next to the character.
Yeah.
This is just where they're putting like the actor's name. And so when I saw Sentinel, I'm like, I didn't even recognize John Hamm.
He did a really good job as Sentinel.
He did.
I mean, I didn't recognize Chris Hemsworth as Orion Pax in the movie.
I did.
I didn't hear it. So
the one I missed was Scarlett Jo. I did not realize that was her.
Oh, dude, that one was too easy.
No, I didn't see that either, to be honest with you. But again, I'm bad at the voice recognition thing. Like, I know a voice for the character. I don't know the voice for an actor.
So Scarlett Jo was definitely using her non-Black Widow voice. And so I've kind of recognized that voice from some of her other roles. Like, it's not that she was bad. It's just that there's a distinct cadence that comes with Scarlett Johansson's voice that I was able to hear pretty well.
See, when I hear her, I only think of Black Widow now. So
you should see more movies, dog.
Maybe I should. Like,
you should.
Don John, for example, which she's also
in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I thought all of the voice actors actually were phenomenal, specifically both Hemsworth and Tyree Henry. Like, I thought those guys were good. With Tyree Henry, it was a tall task because for the most part he's kind of using his like not normal voice, but like I'm like, okay, how is this the voice that's going to turn into Megatron? And again, it's one of those things as the movie developed and as they kept going through more and more stuff to keep it PG, there was that tonal shift in D16's voice that just kept growing and growing and growing. And so, you know, I thought the voice direction that they went with was phenomenal. Hemsworth, to me, sounded essentially like a younger Peter Cullen. And it wasn't like someone trying to impersonate Peter Cullen, right? This was just like, you know, if Optimus is already thousands of years old in G1 cartoons, right? This is how I would imagine him sounding before, like, becoming that, before the centuries of war.
I think he's actually millions of years old.
My point still stands.
As I say, he's very old.
That's a crazy amount of time, to be honest with you.
Cybertronians have a very long lifespan.
Yeah, I didn't know that until just now.
Yeah.
I was assuming maybe 1,000, 2,000 years at most.
If you watch G1, the very first episode, they crash on Earth and it jumps 4 million years.
Yeah, I remember that now that you mentioned.
Optimus is the Autobots and Decepticons are millions of years old.
But I also didn't really think about it too much because I didn't know how much of that original lore they're carrying over into this.
Well, granted, I'm pretty sure this is a complete new continuity altogether.
Right.
I was told, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I was told this is like a precursor to the movie franchise.
There ain't no way it can be.
Okay. I gotta say, which movie franchise? Because technically there's two. Because there was the 80s original animated movie, and then there was the Bayverse.
Talking about the Bayverse, because that's...
Yeah, definitely no chance this is the Bayverse.
Definitely no way that could be possible.
But the thing is, like, when most people are saying, oh, this is a prequel of sorts, they're not really saying to any one continuity, but a lot of people are just going, and the way the movie treats it too is like they know that you know who these characters are and who they're going to be,
Hmm.
and so they're like essentially treating it as like you can treat it as a prequel to any one franchise, fine, but just know that this is how we think these guys started off, and then in our hopes is we can kind of keep show you what they continue to be, and eventually they'll reach that thing that's burned in your mind of what you think of Optimus and Megatron, whether you started with G1, Beast Wars, Robots in Disguise, Armada,
So on and so forth.
animated, so on and so forth.
Something I really liked about the opening of the movie was when they showed Primus
Hmm.
and he had his actual like Cybertron design. I thought
Hmm.
that was just nice piece. There's little pieces of fan service all over the movie if you're looking.
Not even looking, like there's some that even in passing you'll be like, "Ha, I get it."
Yeah, like you.
Like when they're in the mines and Ryan's like, "I got this," and Scarlett Johansson's character is like, "You don't have the touch, you don't have the power."
I loved that. I chuckled.
It's like little things like that they don't really beat you over the head with and be like, "Ooh, see, look at it, look at it."
Or you could
They're
look.
like,
You could look at the background and be like, "Oh, there's Ironhide. Oh, there's Prowl. Oh, there's Sideswipe."
yeah, they are there, and if you recognize them, you recognize them, but they're not gonna beat you over the head and be let a character say something and then just have the frame there for like 5 more seconds so you can clap.
When we get further in, there's a question I want to ask you specifically because I don't think Riz is going to get it. But
Hmm.
Now you're assuming things. How dare you? No, you're probably right.
But as we kind of see from kind of their lives in there, they're mining energon because the matrix of leadership kind of disappeared, and with that disappeared, their surplus of energon, naturally flowing, naturally coming through, was gone. And so the movie establishes that Sentinel Prime is always leading a team up to the surface of Cybertron to try to find it, see what happened with it. And then whenever he comes back, they have kind of a day to relax, rest, and they have this race, which the race scene itself I thought was one of the more beautifully stunning animated sequences in the movie.
that scene was way more exciting than it had any right to be.
Oh yeah, and they're kind of showing that not all of the Transformers can transform.
Which is
You know,
a take I didn't expect because that's not really ever in any continuity.
right? And so they're kind of establishing their own, and kind of the twist they do at the end, like, and as we get more towards the end and kind of the twist, like, I have a pretty funny story to tell. As I was describing the movie to my manager at the movie theater,
Oh wow!
which he was like, "Wait, what?" And again, it kind of goes on to that. Yeah, the latter half of the movie is just like, "Oh, that's kind of dark."
Yeah,
And so we get this beautifully animated sequence. But before kind of the race starts, Orion's trying to convince D16, hey, we participate in this race, it'll get people inspired, we can move up. And D16 kind of has his doubts because, again, they can't transform. So it'd be essentially you participating in a race where everyone else is driving Formula One cars and you have a scooter.
yes,
Not
exactly.
even not even an electronic one, one that you kick to move.
Yeah, you got this, bro.
I mean, that scene and that entire sequence was probably one of my favorite parts of the movie, to be honest, because it shows a certain kind of resilience that Orion Pax had, even back then when he's like a dumb kid.
Right. You see like the glimpses of what makes him Optimus. How the ingenuity of, okay, we're at a disadvantage. How can we move forward? And they have that section where they get blasted off by like the furnace. And, when D16 is out, instead of finishing the race and potentially winning, he goes back for him because we do this together. We're a team. ends up biting them in the back in a pretty funny moment. It's like, you know what, second's not bad, and everyone else that was to be,
Yep. Who was it that
and
won? Was it Chromia?
think so.
I think it was Chromia.
Yeah. And so this, they finish last. Well, not complete last, because there's the people who are knocked out of the race that finish below them, but they don't win. But we get our first real one-on-one with Sentinel Prime at this point, where he's telling them, oh, you guys can see my doctor, you guys inspired them, production is up because they're motivated by you. And so we think, oh, they're gonna, things are gonna turn around before they get knocked down below by what was that jerk's name? Darkwing. Before Darkwing sends them down to level 50, and we get introduced to Bumblebee, which, again, like, I love Key, but I think to me he was definitely the weakest part of the movie.
It's funny too, because Bumblebee's been kind of shoved down our throat since 2007.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he was, of the four main characters, the least important.
Yeah.
Because I'd say it goes Orion, D16, Alita, and then Bumblebee.
And I'll be honest, like, I think it's a big power gap after you get done with Orion and D16.
Yeah. Oh no, it is. Absolutely, because they're really the heart and soul of this movie.
Oh yeah. What were you going to say, Riz?
I was going to ask. So, I know Bumblebee had his own spin-off movie at some point in the Bayverse, but after Shia LaBeouf departure, did he continue to be a primary character in this stuff?
Not so much in 4. He was just kind of there, but in 5, he was in the movie way too. He was immortal.
He was immortal.
He could get blown to pieces and put himself back together.
I wish you could see my face right now.
Yeah,
but you can't. So you have to just imagine it. But yeah, I'm just trying to process that information because that's kind of weird.
It's really stupid. And he was able to fight Optimus somehow, even though he should have no chance. Okay.
And hold his own?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not good.
Doesn't make any sense.
No.
Especially since Bayverse Optimus is a serial killer. But, whatever. We move.
I will find out what that means later on when I watch the movies, I guess.
Optimus has a pretty high kill count.
I think he has the highest kill count of anybody, and he's the hero.
Go Optimus.
Hey. God forgives, not Optimus.
Poor Shockwave in the third movie. But back to this movie.
Back to this one.
Yeah,
so they get sent down, and we get introduced to Bumblebee. And kind of once we get to know, like, why he's there, what they do, they're able to devise a plan to basically escape and go up to the surface. Because in one of the junk bots, they find what they think is a map that will lead them to the Matrix of Leadership.
Yep, and Orion's like, yo, we got to do this. And D16's like, we're minors, though. And Orion's like, no, we got to do this, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And then they recruit Alita because, of course, they do.
Well, they couldn't have moved on Alita, I guess.
Well, not so much that they recruit her. It was just like an allegiance of convenience, because as they are kind of going onto the trash or the energon ships that go up to the surface, she had gotten demoted earlier because of a mining accident that happened, and Orion went to go save, I believe it was Jazz?
It was Jazz, yeah. Because
who got trapped.
Orion's like, we can't just leave him down here to die.
Exactly. And so when they rescue Jazz, because Alita was in charge of their unit, she gets demoted down to waste management. which is where they ended up in the train. And so she sees them and she's going to report them because they've already caused her one demotion. She didn't want them causing any more trouble. And as they move up, we get another decent chase sequence, and probably one of the funniest bits in the movie as well, when they see kind of the rocks crashing through and breaking the train apart. We see the little moment where Bumblebee sees it, train's falling apart, and he just turns around and starts running away.
Yeah.
With that Family Guy Ted run.
It was awesome.
Oh my god.
I'm like, you know what? This guy had the right idea on this. And so when they get crashed, Optimus kind of explains to her, like, this is the map, this is what we can do. You could probably get promoted. And Alita agrees to help them if she's the one who basically is leading them, which, fair point to her, because Ryan kind of seemed like the guy who would get lost easily.
Yeah. Yeah,
Again, he's the more stupid version of what we eventually get.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
And it's at this point where the movie starts to take its tonal shift. Once they leave the city and get up to the surface of Cybertron, that's where the movie will start to get rolling.
Oh,
really good.
Yeah.
Because we see the bug people. I forget their name. Frankie, you're the Transformers fan.
Quintessons.
So we see those guys kind of scanning for any potential life forms.
Now, this is what I wanted to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're working for Unicron? Because I think there's more to it than we got from the movie.
I think there is more to it. I know I have the feeling that they are going to be working for someone else, whether that someone else ends up being Unicron or potentially another villain. That'll remain to be seen.
Because I just immediately, because I looked at my friends who are both big Transformers nerds, I was like, they have to be working for Unicron. That's just where my brain went. I could be wrong, but it smells like Unicron to me.
Mm-hmm. And
Riz,
I could see it.
Riz, what do you think?
I think I'm currently Googling Unicron.
There's no way.
He's literally like the big evil of Transformers.
Yeah, I'm getting that right now. He's basically like the equivalent of Galactus, from what I can tell.
He's Transformers Satan.
Is that a fair comparison, Frankie? That he's like Galactus from Marvel?
Yes, that's a very, very fair comparison.
Okay.
There's a reason why when you type in Unicron, one of the first recommended search links on there you'll get is Unicron versus Galactus.
Mm-hmm. They're paired up against each other.
I haven't found that yet.
They're paired up against each other quite often.
Well, spoilers. I came to that conclusion by just reading the quick little Wikipedia thing that says Unicron is a fictional villain from the Transformers media franchise designed by Flora DeRay. He was introduced in 1986. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like literally the size of a planet. He's huge.
Yeah,
and he's the same being. And he is the same being in every continuity.
He is. Every Unicron is the same.
Wait, okay, hold up. Do you mean all Unicron are one being, or all Unicron act the exact same way?
Yes.
All Unicron are one being.
So
he's a multiverse singularity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so are we saying Galactus meets the Beyonder?
Kind of.
No, because Galactus is the same being in every universe as well.
Oh, shit, you're right. I got a Dragon Dagger that.
Yeah, so Unicron is there's a couple Transformers, like the Fallen, Vector Prime, Unicron. They're all multiverse singularities.
Didn't you review Vector Prime at some point?
I did review a Vector Prime, as a matter of fact.
I remember that edit.
You could see that on our YouTube video on the link up above here.
Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, so bigger bad potentially, but we know that they're scanning for life forms and they're able to evade it and eventually get their way up to kind of a cave.
This is where the movie completely does a 180.
Mm-hmm. Because in this cave where the supposed matrix of leadership is, we see the remains of the prior primes.
Yeah, Megatronus, Zeta, other people. One in particular, who's the big one for this story, is Alpha Trion.
Voiced by Lawrence Fishburne.
And I won't lie to you, I kind of saw what he says coming as soon as I saw Sentinel.
Yep.
So, Sentinel is actually the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Which I won't. As soon as I saw his stupid face, I was like, okay, so you're the villain. Like, but Sentinel essentially betrayed the Primes because he wanted the Matrix for himself, and Primes was like, nah, screw you. And then he made a deal with the Quintessons, and now he's basically in debt to them and is mining energon for them and using the cogless Cybertronians to pay off his debt.
Which we also have to mention at this point when they awaken Lawrence Fishburne's character, right? Alpha Trion. He specifically looks at them and says, wait, where's your core at? Because to his shock, like, you guys shouldn't be cogless. You guys need to have that in you. What happened? What's going on?
Yeah,
so they kind of,
you find out before they were turned online, Sentinel took all their cogs out and was like, you don't get to transform. You work for me now.
And essentially, John Hamm's character is a slaver at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I explained to my manager, I'm like, oh yeah, so basically John Hamm is the villain and he takes the thing that makes them able to transform away from them before they go online, makes them work the mind so that they can get this energy to give to the people he works for. So he's slaving them away.
Yes.
And my manager looked at me, he's like, John Hamm plays a slaver? I'm like, yeah. He's like, would never have gotten that from the trailers.
Nope. Yeah, the trailers don't really tell you what this movie is.
No, they don't. I know we're going to harp on that, but there's a reason why we're harping on that, which we'll definitely get to towards the end. And so Megatron is...
well, D16 at this point. But
we know. Let's be honest. Did you call him D16 during the movie?
Never once.
Never once.
I refused to call him D16 when I was watching. It's like, nah, you're Megatron.
He's Megatron.
Yeah, but D16 is kind of having a little bit of a mental, like, wait, what? Because his worldview just got shattered. His whole, we follow the rules, we keep our mouths shut, we obey, we'll move forward, just got shut down. And he doesn't know how to react. Combine that with the part where they go near a cliff and see that Sentinel is giving the energon to the Quintessons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they saw it with their own eyes. They're like, oh, all this is true. We're literally mining for Sentinel to be king and treat us like garbage, and we're getting nothing.
Yeah, D16 did not take it very well.
No. And so Alpha Trion takes the cogs from a few of the primes that are still there and gives them to the four of them. And that's when they start changing and start to look closer and closer to what their G1 appearances are.
Yep. And what I thought was funny was they had no idea how to transform, and they were struggling.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it was great.
It was great, especially when you think that Orion is having this whole, like, now I'll be able to do it naturally, and he just blinds himself and is just running blind down to the hill.
It was amazing. Or then when Bumblebee couldn't put his arms away. Who got it? Wasn't it Megatron who got it right first?
No, he was struggling a little bit as well. His arm, he had a few things still out as he was going down.
I think Alita did fine.
Did she?
I thought Alita did okay with it.
I don't remember.
They all struggled, but they before they reach down the hill, they finally get it. I think Prime is the first one.
Probably. I will say they do some really clever things with the transformation in combat in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
In what way?
Like having Optimus turn into a truck mid kick to knock him back and then transforming again. It was
Yeah, that was pretty slick. I like that.
which is
Mm-hmm.
something the other movies never really took advantage of was, oh, these guys can transform. Why don't they do it during the fight?
Right.
No,
And so we get a nice little sequence, but they fight a few of Sentinel's forces and they kind of trudge along and we meet the Royal Air Force shortly afterwards,
led by Starscream.
voiced by the wonderful Steve Buscemi.
Who was all there? It was Starscream, Shockwave,
Shockwave, Soundwave.
I think Thundercracker and Skywarp in the background,
I think so as well.
but it's mainly
I know
Shockwaves.
Starscream.
It's mainly Shockwave, Soundwave, and Starscream.
Mm-hmm.
But did Soundwave have any of his minions? Was like Ravage, Rumble, Frenzy? I don't
No.
think so.
No.
No, I didn't think so.
No, so they get captured by the former Royal Guard of Cybertron, led by Starscream, and we kind of see how Optimus is trying to negotiate, and Megatron's just not having it. He just has had this horrible day, and he doesn't want to deal with anyone's stuff.
Bro, when he about blew Starscream's head off, I was like,
yeah.
whoa, calm down.
Well, like he beat him, he was choking him out. So, because we kind of get a normalish Steve Buscemi voice at the beginning, and after the fight with D16, like he sounds a lot closer to his G1 iteration.
Yeah.
But that's because he just had some of his vocal cords choke the heck out of him.
Did you notice as this goes on, his eyes get progressively more red?
Well, that's a thing. That again,
I did notice that. Yeah,
that's one of those things where they're building towards
Megatron. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like they just build towards it, and so at this point, he essentially does the "I defeated your leader in combat. You will follow me now."
So
and it turns. Go ahead.
I do want to make a comment here that when I was watching this in the theaters, I had two train of thoughts on Megatron and that entire journey up until this point.
All right.
On one hand, I thought this is a very well thought out way to show Megatron essentially falling, right? Like turning to the quote unquote dark side. Use one of my Jedi Squadron terms. But on the other hand, while it might be justified, I think D16 could be portrayed as being a little over embellished in his anger as well.
And that is what they're showing. That is the point that they're trying to make.
It seems like, okay, to me it's like, okay, I get you're angry, I understand why you're angry, I support you being angry, but the reaction just seems to be too much.
I think even Orion said that. He was like,
the big moment is like they have an argument beforehand.
Yeah.
And it's something we kind of skimmed over, but we could talk about it a little bit more in depth. It's like they survive their encounter with Sentinel's forces, and they're kind of having an argument over what they should do. And Optimus is like, "Don't worry, we'll have him answer for his crimes." And D16 is like, "That's not good enough." And Optimus Prime is like, "Well, what do you want?" And he's like, "I want to kill him."
Yeah. It
Which
escalated.
I get wanting to kill him, but I don't think revenge was the play here.
Right. Which is, again, like the movie's not trying to get you to agree with D16.
Right.
The movie
It,
wants you to agree with Orion.
Yeah. But see, the reason I said I liked D16 in the beginning more than Prime was because I liked the emotion he was portraying. Now, that's different than me saying the emotion is 100% justified and you should totally have a reaction to anything that happens to you.
mhm.
So I did want to throw it out there because I thought that was something I kind of struggled with a lot because I've heard a lot of people afterwards on Reddit and I guess Facebook even say, "Oh, Megatron had amazing character development and everything he did is correct."
Uh,
And
Going straight
I,
for murder is.
well, I mean, okay, I get it. You lost a lot. You didn't have your cog. You were slave for a while, but literally you have the upper hand now.
Oh, they.
Something we didn't point out early in the movie is D16 is a big fan of Megatronus Prime.
I was going to save that for later,
Oh, there's a
but we can
there,
but we can talk about it here, because when I was going to mention is when a lot of things just start coming to a head.
oh yeah.
But we see that, early on, after like the opening sequence of the movie, where Orion escapes a couple guards, and D16 is the one who hides him in this basically a wheelbarrow full of junk, where he's like, I'm not gonna keep saving you, Orion. And Orion's like, oh, I was gonna give you this gift, which was a decal of Megatronus, which look vaguely familiar to another
It
symbol we know.
it was very familiar.
Vaguely vaguely familiar. So we got so let you got to take a lot of these things in there. D16 has basically been living his life. We don't know how many years he's been alive at this point, but let's just say a lot. He's been living his entire life under the guise of, if we do our jobs correctly, we will be rewarded. We'll be able to move up. He was under the guise that he thought he had free will and that he was contributing to a greater good, that he wasn't being, for lack of a better word, and yes, I am doing this on purpose, he wasn't being deceived. And
Ah,
and so his whole worldview just crumbled down, and he doesn't know how to take it, because everything that he's kind of strived for, fought for up to this point just didn't matter. And not just him, but other people he's worked with, other people he's seen die, other people he's seen kind of get thrown away. All that stuff, all that sacrifice that they did was to fulfill one guy's greed. And taking all that in one day, when you get also a great amount of power, it's going to mess with your mind.
mm-hmm. It is.
Most normal people would not be able to kind of comprehend that and think rationally at that point. That's what makes Prime different from everyone else.
That's why what happens at the end of the movie happens, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. And so the movie's not. So you also got to remember, Riz, you're dealing with 13-year-olds who don't know the definition of nuance.
Yeah, that's
When
fair.
they're saying, "Oh, he was right," people were saying the freaking Joker was right at the end of the Dark Knight.
Yeah, so
Like we've seen this. You just got to learn to actually interpret the media the way they're trying to get you to interpret it. Because no sane person would be like, "Heck yeah, D16 was right."
oh yeah, Thanos was right for killing half of all life.
And yeah, Riz, you lived through. Oh, you know what? Thanos is actually right.
What?
After Infinity War,
After
where people are
Infinity
like,
War, yeah, Thanos was totally justified in what he did.
Yeah,
"Yeah, you've lived through that. You know people are stupid."
yeah, that's true.
So it's not the first time. It's not going to be the last time.
No, no, no.
but it leads to that moment, that breakdown between, well, the foundation of their friendship is starting to crumble here. And as D16 basically takes leadership of this new group, they get ambushed because Sentinel was keeping eyes on them through Arachnid.
That was a call I did not expect. I did not expect Arachnid to be in this movie.
I was happy.
Yeah, it was cool to see a Prime character get some representation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, was it B and Megatron who got captured?
Yep,
And
B and
then
Megatron.
Alita and Orion just
B,
didn't.
Megatron, and Starscream.
Yeah, and then Bumblebee, Shockwave and Soundwave are behind, and Alita punches Shockwave in the eye.
And so as they get captured, then it falls on, Alita has to talk Optimus into, or has to talk Orion up, like, you're the one who always says never give up. You guide us through here. And so Orion comes up with this plan on how they're using basically the it was the trash trains that they used to get back, right?
Yes.
So they're using that to get back to the world in a timely manner. And Shockwave is like, why should we follow you? And Alita punches the ground and he's like, we will follow you.
Yes, he's just like, I don't want that smoke right now, girl. I'm good.
Yeah, because he'd gotten his he'd gotten kicked around by her in the prior fight they had.
Yeah, she's a badass.
Yes, she is. And so as they're making their way to go rescue their comrades, we get one of the one of the more intense moments in the movie.
Oh man.
Or Frankie, I'll go ahead and let you take the lead on this one.
Oh goodness. They when Sentinel stabs Alpha Trion through the neck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. That was rough. Poor Morpheus.
Mm-hmm.
And Sentinel's like basically like trying to tell Megatron, like, hey, guess what? I'm right, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I paraphrased, but he's basically telling Megatron, like, hey, listen, I did what I did because I can.
Mm-hmm.
And there ain't nothing you can do about it because you're nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But Megatron's like, you know what? I'm not scared of you. And he stands up to him.
Yeah, because he said he wasn't kneeling anymore.
Oh, yeah. And then he almost died.
Right. So as Sentinel's basically torturing him and telling him, well, I'm going to use you guys as scapegoats and tell the others that you're the reason why we're falling behind, and your execution will raise morale and raise my stock up even further, saying I stopped an invasion or rebellion. And as Megatron keeps standing up to him, Sentinel's like, oh, you're that brash. He sees the decal that was given to D16 by Orion earlier in the movie, and he brands that onto him.
That was crazy. I mean, it had to happen somehow, but that was nuts.
Yeah, so we get some pretty freaking intense moments in this movie at this point, and it's all coming to that really great third act, and that's where we have the big hero moment coming in. Another fantastic fight sequence, and more things. Kind of keep it vague because you can only describe action so much.
Well, there comes a point where Orion is like, yo, stop. Because D16 is now like a beating down Sentinel.
Right. This happens after they escaped kind of the big tower, and their plan is to use the memory of Arachnid to air Sentinel's betrayal to everyone.
Which they do.
which they do. But while they're doing that, D16 is wanting to fight Sentinel to prevent him from escaping.
And he
He
is
does a good job.
mad.
Oh, yeah.
And Orion's like, okay, you've won. You made your point. You don't have to kill him.
Right. So this is after they show the betrayal on basically a world broadcast network.
Yeah,
And
for all of Iacon to see.
Yep, and Sentinel has been basically beaten down, and Orion's like, okay, we've done it. They know what he did. We can keep, we can stop now. But D16 at this point is just like his mind is just fallen. He's gone through so much stuff. Like he just snapped, and when he's going for basically the execution shot on Sentinel, Orion stops, like gets in the way and takes the blast because he doesn't want to see his friend become a murderer.
Now this is the point where D16 is gone. Because he catches Orion as Orion's falling. He's like, you know what? I'm done saving you, and just drops him.
Right, and it was the callback to the line earlier. He's like, I think I'm done. It's the last time I rescue you.
And he rips Sentinel Prime in half.
Well, as Orion is falling down, these are things that are happening simultaneously.
Yeah, he's falling toward.
So before he lets him fall, the eyes go full red. They go full Decepticon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the moment D16 is done, is when he lets Prime go. And the eyes just turn that Decepticon red, which I thought was, that was a great moment.
It was beautiful.
And so as Orion is fallen, Orion is dead at this point.
He's completely dead.
He's dead. He's falling down. We hear the voices of the Primes start calling out to him, showing like your nobility, your willingness to sacrifice for the greater good. Like we know what's happening to him. He's about to get that matrix. At the same time, D16 is going into the full ruthless Megatron that we know. And as Sentinel's trying to get away, we see him just grab him, and we see just that gnarly, like rips him in half.
He takes Megatronus's cog and declares himself Megatron. Literally a few seconds later, I think it's Primus who says, "Arise, Optimus
Prime," with just one of the most amazing like animated sequences going on there. There's some people who are over exaggerating it, saying that it was on par with the "What's Up Danger" scene from Into the Spider-Verse.
The first one?
Yeah, the first one from Into the Spider-Verse. I'm like, it's not quite on that level, but this scene where they're both kind of turning into what we know them as, like, it was really, really good.
Yeah, it was. So one thing I like about this final battle is it's not like Optimus shows up and just decimates Megatron. It's a pretty even fight. But Optimus wins.
Right. We get this moment where, people are thinking, where he gives that speech or where Megatron's giving the speech to the others, and then Prime rises out and counters his point. And so we start seeing the division that would become Decepticons and Autobots here as well.
Oh, yeah.
And, we see like the usual people that you knew were going to go with Megatron, side with him, and the people siding with Prime. And like you said, we get this really, really sick fight where they pull out all sorts of things. Prime breaks out the flamethrower, the freaking Axis.
Megatron's got his fusion cannon, and it's awesome.
It is. It's such a good final fight sequence.
But something I did like was that after Optimus wins, he doesn't kill him.
No.
Because that's not who he is.
And he gives, God, what a speech. It's like you have betrayed the morals of this, of the primes, but worst of all, you betrayed me.
You are banished from Iacon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that hurt the most, I think.
Well, I mean, he didn't want to.
You could feel the hurt.
He didn't want to kill him.
You didn't, and like again, to Riz's point, when he said you betrayed me, like that's what hurt me.
Yeah, it was rough.
And Megatron is like, this isn't over, Prime.
Because I don't think they ever call each other Optimus or Megatron.
No.
No, they just say that they're taking on these new names.
Yeah, he just calls him Prime, but that's because like he became a Prime now.
He doesn't know it's Optimus Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do a sequel, which unfortunately I don't think they are, we'll get to that in a minute. There'll probably be a point where Optimus says to him, "You know what? D16 is gone. You're Megatron." But we'll get there.
I don't know if they'll be like that, but we'll get there. And so they get banished, and Optimus shows the matrix of leadership. You see the energon fountains flowing down, and we get like the classic end of movie Optimus speech.
Yeah. Where he declares them as the Autobots.
Yep. This is a warning for all who would attack Cybertron. It was great, and I'm surprised I haven't seen a What I've Done edit of that on TikTok yet.
And then you have a post-credit scene where Megatron...
You have two post-credit scenes, which...
Were there two?
Yes.
Oh, I only saw the first one.
Well, you saw the second one. The first one is actually... there's a joke that they did at the beginning when they first meet B, where he's talking to the...
Oh, yeah.
To the built-up people.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And he's like, look, I have laser swords. And he stabs them and kills
cuts
the other
one of their
two.
heads off.
I felt so bad.
He killed the other two.
I forgot about that completely.
So that was the first one, which I personally thought they should have flipped the end credit scenes. Because then we get the really, really good one where Megatron is basically giving his speech. Is like, we will no longer be the deceives, we will be the deceivers. And they're all getting the Decepticon branding on them. And he's like, from this point forward, we are Decepticons, rise. And they start shooting up in the air. And you get like one of the coldest shots with Soundwave, Starscream, and Shockwave just there with their eyes glowing.
Oh, man. It was so good.
That should have been the mid one, and the Bumblebee one should have been the end one for the gag.
Yeah. Yeah. It was neat, though.
It was good.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah. It was a great movie.
Yeah. For those of you who haven't seen it, you should. Don't let the previous movies and that first trailer dissuade you. This is, without a doubt, the best Transformers movie. And it's not even close.
It is definitely the Transformers movie I've enjoyed the most in the theater since the first Michael Bay movie.
True words. Very true. Because I might be in a minority, but I enjoyed that first one quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is generally the most beloved of those movies.
Yeah.
Even though for some reason apparently people like Dark on the Moon. I don't get it.
I saw it, but I don't remember anything about it.
That's for the best.
Sentinel's there, and he's also a dick in that movie.
Oh yeah, so that's why we were telling you there's no way this is a prequel, because Sentinel can't have been killed in this, and then somehow is back for Dark on the Moon.
And if you're confused, Sentinel is the character that was voiced by Leonard Nimoy in Dark of the Moon.
Yes. He is Spock. But
Mm-hmm.
that's if there's a problem I have with the story, it's that Sentinel is way too easy to figure out. Because I caught him being the villain almost immediately.
I don't think they were trying to hide
I don't
it.
think they're trying. Yeah, I think that was intentional because it's not about like a who done it or who's the big bad. It's about the journey of two friends to becoming mortal enemies, and that's kind of the takeaway I got from this movie is showing that story.
Well, that was the whole point. I don't know. It's a personal thing, but I wish Sentinel was a little more subtle in being a dick.
No, I thought for sure, like, my biggest issue, and I think the biggest weakness, and it's not even that big of an issue, but it's just that all the jokes, primarily with Bumblebee, will not always land.
Yeah, he's the character that I was just like whatever with.
Yeah. Uh, but again, the movie's not really trying to focus in on too many. The movie itself is relying on you buying the friendship between Prime and Megatron.
And God willing, this gets a sequel, which, given the way that nobody's watching this damn movie, it's probably
It
not
is
going to happen.
it is unfortunately underperforming in the
I do want to mention that I was very disheartened. So I think me and my coworker friend went to see this movie on opening night when it released in America,
mhm.
and I I think I could count on both hands the number of people that were in the room with us.
There's only like 9 people in my showing. I mean,
Yeah,
granted, it was like Sunday night at 7:30.
no, dude, I went to a Friday prime time. I think 5:15 showing,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
and there was barely anyone in there. And this is in Houston, all right. Like this isn't no small town.
Oh, Jesus. I don't like
Yeah,
that.
no. Me and my friend were looking around. We're like, all of our friends told us this is a fantastic movie, and it has really good ratings from like Rotten Tomato and generally people who are big Transformers fans all coming out of the woodwork saying it's a great movie, but yet
Because it was.
the crowd the crowd wasn't there.
Again,
I don't know if that's because of public perception because of the old movies.
No, I don't think that's all of it. I think that's one factor. But I mean, okay, going back to my point from earlier, I know I'm very infamous in our staff for being the one who somehow always manages to avoid trailers and spoilers and stuff.
Yes.
Mhm.
But at least I know it's coming, right? Like I know the movie's coming out. I
Mm-hmm.
may not want to see the trailers. I may not want to know anything about it. I mean, I entered the last Spider-Man cold turkey. No idea what's going to happen.
How did you pull that off?
Okay,
I
okay. What's the last Spider-Man? Are you talking
He's talking
about
about
across?
He's talking about No
Okay,
Way Home.
that's not the
No
last
Way Home.
Spider-Man movie then. The last one is Across the
I'm
Spider-Verse.
talking about the MCU movies, but yeah, no,
Okay.
you're right. Even that one, I walked in with no idea what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I walked into that. I walked into what was it? Guardians 3. I walked in never seeing a single trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Had no idea what the plot was going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really good at avoiding this stuff. If I don't want to see it, I don't see it.
Well, Riz, I mean, I think I know why you're pretty good at not seeing trailers.
Why is that?
How many movies a year do you go to?
You can count them on one hand, Miguel.
That's why you don't see many trailers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but the point is,
Like, you don't actively seek out trailers either.
Right. I mean, okay.
See, if it's something I really want to see, I'll probably watch the first trailer and then nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the point I'm making is, at least I would know that the movie is in existence. This would have completely flown under my radar had it not been for Frankie, had it not been for my friend John Russo, and had it not been for my friend from the con that I met like a week ago before the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for those three people, I would not know about this movie, and I would not have had the interest to go see this movie. So that tells me in Rizwan world that they didn't do a good job marketing this thing.
They didn't.
So I think they set it up for failure by not marketing well, because they made a really fantastic product, but they just didn't market it.
Yeah.
Nobody needed to go see it. Nobody was hyped for it.
Yeah.
No,
And
it's a lot of factors in there.
yeah,
One, kind of the stigma of like the final two Michael Bay movies, Extinction and Last Night, just being absolute dog water.
how was the Beast movie, Beast Wars or whatever?
It's fine.
It's fine.
Okay.
uh, hearing Ron Perlman go Maximals maximize, like,
That was
just
neat.
again, because my first introduction to Transformers was Beast Wars,
Yeah,
Same.
mine too.
so that's
Same.
kind of where my heart is, kind of when it comes to this franchise.
Yeah, for me, it's Beast Wars and the Unicron trilogy are my big ones.
Yeah, and so, but overall, it's just like fine, nothing too crazy. The people who saw it enjoyed it. Some are confused by the GI Joe stuff at the end of it, but that's neither for this topic. That's not for this podcast.
No.
Uh, so you have the stigma of kind of the last few movies that really diluted the brand, which has caused these subsequent movies to not perform well financially, even though they're significantly better than the last two Michael Bay movies. The first trailer and kind of the marketing surrounding the movie has not been the best. A lot of people who have seen the movie are basically going, whoever was in charge of the marketing or setting up the trailers for this needs to be fired,
Yeah, absolutely.
because those things did not do the movie any justice. And if you were to go to the trailer for the movie, I can guarantee you the top comments will be, yeah, this does not sell you on what the movie actually is. Go see it.
Yeah.
The other part is, right now, internationally, it has not been released in all of its territories yet. So there's still a chance that it can make almost break even. When it comes to a movie like this, if it breaks even in the box office, fantastic. If it makes money, even greater. But a lot of the executives know that kind of where their real money in this is going to come from is in its ancillary, so in its merchandise sales,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So just because the movie's not performing strong doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the end of it, you know. So there's still a chance that it can have a second win once it gets its full international markets. And the last part, kind of on why this movie isn't performing as well, unfortunately, has to do with the stigma that there are just some people who will refuse to go watch any animated movie.
That's also true.
Like, there are people who are avoiding the Spider-Verse movies because they don't want to watch, quote unquote, a damn cartoon.
Well, that comes back to something that Nathan and I have been digging into a lot in the Jedi Squadron podcast about the Star Wars stuff. A lot of people refuse to watch the Clone Wars and Rebels because it's a cartoon and they think it's beneath them. But in actuality, those are some phenomenal TV shows and bring a lot of content out that really makes Star Wars, in my opinion, what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the sequel trilogy, it's not about the prequels, it's about these two TV shows defining what makes it so special to a lot of people, in my opinion. But it's just a stupid stigma that people can't be bothered to want to go see an animated movie because they feel like then they're kids. But honestly, be a kid. Or recognize that animated movies are not only for kids, they have some very mature things out there, which is I know Transformers 1 is not an anime in the pure sense of anime, but a lot of anime out there do fit that bill, and a lot of cartoons even fit that bill. Looking at you, Gargoyles, where it's emotional, it's deep, it's mature, it has a lot of things going for it.
There are some Transformers animes out there.
Oh, I know. That's why I made the distinction that Transformers 1 is not an anime.
Ah, yeah.
But, what was it called? Oh my god. Not Z1. It was something else. There's an anime I'd watched like episode 1 of years ago. Pretty good, but I just forgot to continue. But no, the point is, I think it's a really bad stigma, and we need to work as a society to get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The Bayverse stigma. I mean, look, I stopped watching the Bayverse movies after like the second or third. Whenever Sight left, that's when I was done with it.
You know, people say that Shia's movies weren't good either.
No, they weren't, but at least it had a semblance of like a overarching story for a character, right? Like
Sort of.
that's how I perceived it. Now, granted, I have not seen these Bayverse movies since probably whenever the Moon movie came out. So I'm thinking like 2010, 2011.
Damn.
I mean, is that when the movie came out? I don't even know. I have to go
The
look
first
and
one was
find out.
2007, 2009, and 2011 were the first three.
Okay, that's the last time I saw a movie from the Transformers franchise.
You're not missing much.
That's why I stopped, because I was not interested. Megan Fox left, Shia LaBeouf left. I was kind of bored.
Megan Fox's character was terrible.
Megan Fox is not somebody you look for terrible acting or characterization, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we're hoping that the movie or this series can continue.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, it would be great.
Because I think we're all in agreement that it was a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Rizwan, final grade on the movie?
Final grade A plus, probably A plus. Yeah.
Frankie?
A plus.
Miguel?
I'm gonna give it an A, and I'll say this is probably the second best animated movie I've seen this year.
What was the first?
The Wild Robot.
I heard that's amazing.
Is it out? I want to go see it.
It just came out, I think.
Came out last weekend.
Okay, I need to go watch that.
Yes. So yeah, give it an A. Fantastic. Kind of blew my expectations away, between Transformers 1 and the 40th anniversary short that was put out by Trigger. I want to say like the week before Transformers 1 was released.
It was right around the same time.
Because that short or that tribute video ends with Transformers 1, Optimus, and Megatron shaking hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, between that, all the special collaborations that Transformers are coming up, fans of the franchise have had a fantastic 40th anniversary to celebrate for sure.
Oh, they have been doing hot this year with between the figures and this movie and that Studio Trigger video, which is just the best thing ever. Go watch it if you haven't seen it.
But that'll do it for us here on this episode of Anime Declassified. Rizwan, sign us out.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and Anime Declassified, let's roll out.